Heaven Official's Blessing. Chapter 252. Audio source: wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Extra: The Ghost King's birthday. Hua Cheng's birthday is June 10th and Xie Lian's is July 15th. Recently, something important and urgent has come up. Because of this, Ghost City has been anxious. When Xie Lian found out what it was, he was just as startled as the ghosts who secretly told him, his heart filling with worry. Birthday. Indeed. Ghost City's Chengzu watching however old he's turning, his birthday is coming. Xie Lian was unprepared. Feeling indescribably nervous, he said, This. What did Senling do on his birthdays in the past? The ghosts eagerly answered in chaos. They're super lively. Nothing much, we just pointlessly make a scene. But Chengzu doesn't care at all? Hearing this, Xie Lian said, What do you mean he doesn't care? A ghost replied, Chengzu the old man ever celebrates his birthday. Yeah, he never cares about what we do on his birthdays. He has never even bat an eye at the gifts people send him. Every year it's just us fooling around, having fun by ourselves. Chengzu the esteemed old man forgets a lot of things. It's like he never remembers when he was born in the first place. Xie Lian thought for a bit, and immediately made up his mind. Since Hua Cheng didn't care about his previous birthdays, this time Xie Lian has to come up with a way to make this birthday out of the ordinary a little more interesting, so he can be happy on that day. But what's the difference between a Hua Cheng birthday with Xie Lian versus one without? Aren't they the same? First of all, he has to give him a birthday present. Xie Lian was deep in thought. What should he give? The ghosts glared at him. Xie Daozhong, are you thinking about what gift to get Chengzu? Xie Lian replied, I'm ashamed to say this, but I'm not sure what your Chengzu will like. I'm afraid I might give him something not to his taste. The pig butcher said, Yo, what are you worrying so much for? If it's something that granduncle Xie Daozhong is giving, I think our Chengzu will be happy beyond belief. Yeah, I bet that even if you give him a piece of scrap paper he'd be delighted. How could Grand Xie Daozhong's gift be compared to anyone else's? Xie Lian dryly laughs a bit, thinking that this attitude might be a bit too narcissistic and frivolous, lacking sincerity. We can't say that. Choosing a gift has to be done carefully and thoughtfully. Do you all have any suggestions? After all, Hua Cheng has been hanging around Ghost City for many years. Maybe the ghosts will have a better understanding of what he likes. With a little brainstorming, if Xie Lian thinks harder, he will find a suitable and outstanding gift. And indeed, the ghosts all said, We do. As they spoke, dozens of chicken talons, pig feet, octopus legs and such were all brought over, creating a pile of assorted things. Xie Lian isn't familiar with any of these things. Being surrounded by them, he thought it was spectacular. He offhandedly takes what looks like a mysterious and elegant jade bottle and asked, Oh, what is this? The presenter of the bottle replied, It's a top-notch seductive medicine. You just have to apply a few drops, and I guarantee that the victim's passion and love will skyrocket, falling head over heels for the poisoner. And it doesn't have any side effects. Xie Lian sternly replied, Thank you for the suggestion. However, love should come naturally from the heart. How could we use concoctions to control it? It's best that no one uses this from now on. The ghost who gifted the bottle spoke with fear. Yes, let's not use it. But we actually don't this anyway. I only got this because Xie Daozhong asked for suggestions. Xie Lian cried and laughed internally, thinking, Why would you think I have to gift Hua Cheng seductive medicine? He smiled. I'm afraid your Chengzu won't have any use for this medicine either. All the other ghosts frantically pushed that ghost away, shouting, Exactly. If Chengzu wants someone, would he need to use drugs? Seriously, Xie Lian thought, this is a big truth. For example, with himself, he doesn't even need the poison. He falls head over heels pretty much the instant he sees Hua Cheng. What a shame. To stop his embarrassing thoughts from manifesting into a blush, he quickly grabbed another box. He opened it. "And what's in here?" "Pearls. Panacea." The ghost who donated it replied. "This is a childbearing pill. Xie Lian doesn't even have to ask what this pill does." He immediately closed the box with a PA, helplessly saying, "This is all." How could he give something like this to Hua Cheng? At any rate, with the help he's getting, Xie Lian knows he won't get any helpful suggestions. He tells the ghosts to secretly plan something for the Ghost King's birthday to give Hua Cheng a surprise, while he leaves on his own to keep thinking. Perhaps he's thinking too much about this, as distress is showing on his face. Today, he was helping Hua Cheng practice calligraphy and thinking of ideas when suddenly a voice came from beside him. "Gurgur." Xie Lian stopped thinking, tilting his head. "What is it?" Hua Cheng was gazing at him. He puts his brush down. "Am I mistaken?" Gurgur seems to be worried about something. "Do you want to say what it is, so San Lang can share your worries?" Xie Lian's heart tensed. He immediately put on a stern face. He warned, "You can't put your brush down. Don't be lazy. Pick up your brush and continue." Hua Cheng chuckles, and picks up his brush again, leisurely sighing. "You caught me." Seeing that he went back to work, Xie Lian sighed. "Who knew?" After writing 2 lines, Hua Cheng casually said, "But recently, Gurgur has been a bit unusual." Xie Lian tenses again, his face remaining calm. "Oh, how so?" Hua Cheng thoroughly looks at him for a bit, smiling. "You seem too obedient." Xie Lian smiles. "Haven't I always been like this?" Xie Lian is desperately running out of birthday gift ideas. He decides to take a risk. He'll first ask some useless things to see if there's something Hua Cheng is missing, then play it off. With a nonchalant face, Xie Lian says, "San Lang, let me ask you something." Hua Cheng responded, What is it?" Xie Lian asked. "Do you think there's something missing somewhere?" Hua Cheng answered, "Missing? What is Gurgur referring to? Are you missing something?" Xie Lian said, "Oh, no. I'm talking about you. Just asking." Too bad he doesn't dare be too direct, like asking, "What do you like? What do you want?" kinds of questions. To prevent Hua Cheng from realizing that something's up, he could only beat around the bush. But doing that makes it harder to find what Hua Cheng wants. It's making Xie Lian rather nervous. Hua Cheng said, "Me? What does Gurgur think I'll be missing?" That's true. Xie Lian can't help but feel embarrassed. Hua Cheng speaks again. "Why is Gurgur asking me this?" Xie Lian was afraid he'd be found out. Throwing caution to the wind, he pushes hard with his hand. Hua Cheng never keeps his guard up to Xie Lian, and so he was pushed with a boom. Leaning against the divan, one with his eye wide open, not that he minded. He smiles. "What's Gurgur doing? Being this eager, you?" Without waiting for him to finish his sentence, Xie Lian boldly walked over, stopping his words. And just like that, Hua Cheng was no longer in the mood to keep asking questions. He holds him with his arm and flips them both over. Whatever Xie Lian was doing that was so unusual no longer mattered. Thinking alone seemed completely useless, so Xie Lian could only ask for assistance. And the first people he asked for help were of course his 2 competent ex-subordinates. The 3 sat in a secretive and unknown broken temple. After a moment of awkward silence, Feng Xin asked, "What are you staring at me for?" The other 2 people were staring at him, not uttering a word. They can't help it. Out of the 3, Feng Xin was the only one with a wife. Logically speaking, he should know what makes his loved ones happy the most. But Feng Xin's face was turning grim from their staring. He said, "Looking at me is useless. I've only given her one thing. It was a golden belt, the one that Xie Lian gave him." Mu Qing found it unbelievable that Xie Lian would drag him over to ask him such a thing. It's already very courteous of him to limit his eye-rolling. He wanted to quickly get this ordeal over with, saying, "That's a good idea. Belts are good. Why don't you also give him a golden belt?" Xie Lian automatically ignored the weird tone in his voice, saying, "I've lost all of mine a long time ago. They're all gone." Mu Qing's peculiar tone got even weirder. "Aren't you in a good place right now? The streets are filled with your shrines and worshippers. Just show up in their dreams asking for a belt and they'll make you one." Xie Lian said, "That's meaningless. If I have to ask a worshipper to make my gift, isn't that too careless?" Seeing that his weird tone of voice has no effect on Xie Lian, Mu Qing's tone returned to normal, saying, "Why are you so troublesome? Make one for him yourself." Xie Lian quickly replied, "What a good idea, but I don't know how." "You can learn," Xie Lian replied. "Right, from who?" Mu Qing impatiently said. "How would I know? You can just..." Before he finished his sentence, Mu Qing realized that this time, the other two were staring at him. After Tu Xie Lian's hands and fingers have been poked dozens of times, bandaged heavily so that his hands wouldn't be covered in blood. In his hand is a band-shaped thing with unclear shape and intent. Mu Qing can't stand this anymore and asked, "What is this?" Xie Lian sighs. "A belt," Mu Qing said. "I know this is a belt. What I'm asking is, what have you sewn onto the belt? What's the meaning behind those two beans you've sewn on?" Xie Lian replied, "These are not beans. Can't you see? They are two people." To let them see clearly, he even drew it out. Two people's faces. This is the eye. The mouth goes here. After seeing that they are two heads, Mu Qing said unbelievably, "Why would anyone sew two big heads on a belt? Can this be worn outside? Your taste in fashion isn't too awful. How come such a thing can come out of your hands?" Xie Lian couldn't help it either. He's much better off fixing houses and building wells and walls. He could do it quickly and do it well. But it seems that from birth he was never good at household chores geared towards women. Once he holds a needle and thread or a cooking pot, the situation spirals out of control. He stares at his hand, wrapped like a zongzi. Even though it doesn't hurt, he's not getting any better at sewing. He can't help but feel helpless, saying, "I'll change the design." But the wood plank has already become a boat. 3. How could he change it? He added a bunch of petals around the two heads, turning them into two intermittent awkward flower heads. Feng Xin and Mu Qing's faces were visibly miserable. Green veins appeared on Mu Qing's face. "I could even teach pigs. How come you're so clumsy? Are you sewing your palms?" Feng Xin said. "When have you ever taught a pig?" Saying a bunch of baseless lies. Without any manners, Mu Qing said to Xie Lian, "Just give up. You don't have talent for this." It's not every day that he gets to say, "You don't have talent," to Xie Lian. Saying it with such confidence feels quite good. Feng Xin can't listen to this any longer, saying, "Can you speak a little less? You didn't compliment your highness a single bit just now." Wearing clothes and making clothes are two separate things. It's not even that bad. The belt can be worn. Mu Qing replied, "Okay then, why don't we give the belt to you? If you dare wear it, I'll be convinced." 4. Before Feng Xin could reply, Xie Lian quickly hid that embarrassing and hideous belt. "This can't be used. I'll just keep it, okay? This kind of thing really can't be used as a gift." Feng Xin and Mu Qing didn't help much, so Xie Lian turned to another person. "A gift? Your Highness the Crown Prince, you really asked the right person." Thinking about back then, I5. What kind of precious treasure haven't I seen before? The two crouched on the side of the street. Shi Qingchen, with his disheveled hair, excited character, and a talkative mouth, one could tell he is an expert in this field with just a glance. Xie Lian humbly accepted his teachings. Shi Qingchen confidently said, "There are unclaimed treasures out there, but if you want to get them, you have to put in a lot of work." Xie Lian quickly said, "That's fine. It's exactly what I wanted. The more effort it takes to obtain something, the more precious it must be, so doesn't that mean it's more sincere of a gift?" The best treasure to get would be one that's the hardest to get in this world, one that not a single person has ever succeeded in obtaining. If he get it for Hua Cheng, it will make a meaningful gift. Imaging that his gift can make Hua Cheng raise his eyebrows or smile a bit, Xie Lian couldn't suppress his excitement and anticipation, and was eager to try this idea. Shi Qingshan thought for a bit, then said, "The Xingtian Hu. 6 Your Highness should have heard of it before, right? This Hu is precious. If you put it under the night sky, the stars and moon will be reflected in the wine, and it will absorb the spiritual energy of the sky, earth, sun, and moon. It's not only elegant, it can also help with cultivation." Who knew? The more Xie Lian listened, the more he had a bad feeling in his chest, and he quickly interrupts. "Wait, what's up?" Xie Lian gestured a size comparison, saying, "Qingshan, what you're talking about, is it a black jade Hu about this big?" Within the jade are hints of starlight. Shi Qingshan was puzzled. "Eh? How did your highness know? You've seen it before?" He didn't just see it. Last month, he was trying to pour himself some water to drink. Because he forgot that his hand was hurt, he lost his grip, and shattered that exact Hu. At that time, Hua Cheng immediately came to ask about the injury on his arm. Xie Lian, seeing how beautiful that Hu was, asked Hua Cheng what to do and whether it could be fixed. Hua Cheng instead said that it's nothing, that it was just a plaything. He didn't even look at the shattered pieces before telling his subordinates to sweep up the Hu bits and throw them out, and took Xie Lian away to take care of his arm. Now that he thought about it, wasn't the Hu he broke the one that Shi Qingshan referred to as the rare precious treasure, the Xingtian Hu? Xie Lian felt his heart go cold. This might not be too suitable. How about another treasure? Oh, Shi Qingshan didn't get what just happened, so he grabbed his hair, thinking for a bit before saying. Then the next one would be the Bahuang 7 brush. This brush is unbelievable. The hairs used for the brush were extracted from the tip of an ancient beast's tail. The handle was made from a branch at the top of a yuzu tree. If the brush isn't being used, it will grow. Xie Lian says. Green yuzu leaves. Shi Qingshan responded. Correct. Your Highness, how did you know this too? You've seen it before as well? How could he have not seen it? That's the brush that Hua Cheng practices his calligraphy with every day. He'd blame his unpleasant handwriting on the brush being bad, and throw it on the floor. Sometimes he kicks it to who knows where. Xie Lian would often have to search for that poor brush, pick it up and wipe it clean before putting it in a safe place. Xie Lian said, this one might not be too suitable either. How about a different one? As Shi Qingshan listed off dozens of suggestions, Xie Lian realized that the legendary and rare treasures that he was talking about are also familiar. And they're also pitiable. They're either the stools Hua Cheng is using as footrests or the carpet on his floor. If it's not playthings he's using for his amusement, they're things he's thrown away, lost and gone. That makes sense. What treasures on this world would still exist that Hua Cheng hasn't seen and hasn't been able to obtain? And so getting a gift for the Ghost King will not work using this idea. Like a desperate doctor using every treatment he knows. 9 Xie Lian almost asked everyone he could. However, Quan Yi Jun only knows how to give gold bars. Hua Cheng isn't lacking money. Pei Ming, this person only knows how to give women gifts. If you asked him what to give a man, he couldn't say anything proper. Ling Wen, even though she had a few other heavenly officials to help, that the heavens couldn't function without her, and that she was no longer locked in a prison, she was buried in paperwork to the point of almost passing out. She no longer knows how to do anything except processing official documents, and would rather have some quiet in a prison cell. No one could help, and Hua Cheng's birthday was in 2 days. Xie Lian really has no ideas. He stayed awake for the whole night, his eyes red. At least when the sky was almost dawn, he thought of something to give. Once his mind was clear, he quietly rose from the divan, looking beside him at the peacefully sleeping Hua Cheng. Hua Cheng's hair was as dark as a crow, and his eyelashes were like lacquer. With both his eyes closed, you couldn't tell he was missing an eye. His handsome face and naturally hostile expression are dampened by his sleep. Looking at him now, he looks gentle, somehow. Xie Lian's heart was touched. He couldn't help but extend his right hand, hovering it over Hua Cheng's face. But because he was afraid he'd wake him up, he retracted his hand. Who knew it? Before he even got off the divan, his waist tensed, and he was held back by an arm. A lazy voice came from behind. "Gerger, what are you up so early for?" Hua Cheng woke up. His voice was low, a bit hoarse, like he was half dreaming, half awake. Xie Lian was caught off guard and scooped back onto the divan. Feeling immensely guilty, he calmly replied, "Oh, someone sent their prayers." Hua Cheng moved closer to him, and kissed his ear, saying, "The sun's not even out. Who goes to pray this early in the morning? Are they looking for trouble?" Perhaps it's his guilty conscience, but when Xie Lian listened to the voice beside his ear, his face felt hot. "I didn't just receive the prayer. It's piled up from a while ago." As he spoke, he felt that talking in his current position is rather difficult. When he tried to get up again, Hua Cheng also sat up, wrapping his arms around his neck, resting his head on his shoulder. If it's already piled up, then why not put it off a little longer? Gerger overworked himself last night. Sleep a little more. Xie Lian struggled against that person's arms in a luring voice, barely being able to do so. "Already put it off for a long time. I can't delay anymore." Hua Cheng. "Oh, then I'll go with you," Xie Lian quickly said. "No need. I won't take long. I'll be right back. You should get some rest." Hua Cheng responded. "You really don't need me to go," Xie Lian quickly said. "No need. You can't come with me." Absolutely cannot come with." Hua Cheng opened his eyes slightly. "Why?" Xie Lian choked. In an instant, he rapidly turns around, holds onto both of Hua Cheng's arms and looks at him, solemnly saying, "You have to practice calligraphy." Hua Cheng innocently looked at him, blinking his eye. Xie Lian forcefully said, "You must stay in this temple today to practice calligraphy. I will check it when I come back." Hua Cheng looks more and more innocent, tilting his head. But in the end he obediently replied, "Okay." Xie Lian struggled to finally overcome this situation, frantically tumbling off the bed. Hua Cheng slightly leaned on the divan, squinting at Xie Lian's back view as he panicked and fled from the room. Hua Cheng smiled and lay down again, using his arms as pillow. Xie Lian first went to a barren wasteland to retrieve what he wanted, then went to Mount Tonglu. Within Mount Tonglu's forest was a small house. Going inside, Xie Lian saw a head priest at a table he put up, with 3 empty-shelled people by his side, playing mahjong with a solemn face. Without uttering another word, Xie Lian turned around to leave, but once head priest saw him, his eyes lit up, shouting, "Stay right there." Xie Lian knew that there's only one situation in which head priest would tell him to stay right there, when he's in the middle of mahjong. Indeed, at the next instant head priest retracted the table, saying, "Let's stop playing, I have something to do so I have to go." "Crown Prince, come back. Do you need me for something?" Turning his head, Xie Lian sees the 3 empty-shelled people lying down on the floor, knowing full well that head priest must have been on the verge of losing the game. He falsely said, "It's actually something not that important." Yet, head priest quickly said, No, I saw how stern your face was. It must be something incredibly important. The game can wait, let Yshi-10 help you." But when Xie Lian explained why he's here, head priest changed his expression. The two sat at a crude-looking bench as Xie Lian listened to head priest lecture him. "It's not such an important event. Just a birthday, yet you spent so long thinking about it, running around, personally getting those kinds of things." Xie Lian knows that there isn't a way for him to explain himself to this person, and even if he did, this person wouldn't understand his intentions. He rubbed the space between his eyebrows until it turned red. I already got the materials. I just don't remember anymore how to make the Xianli-style longevity lock that I was given as a child. I wanted to ask head priest for advice. You don't have to do anything, I will make it myself. Head priest seemed to still not understand him, saying, you don't have to prepare any birthday gift. You're already showing up to his door. What other presents would he even want? This is saying, you yourself are the best gift, right? Xie Lian absolutely can't stand this kind of logic. He doesn't even want to think about it, slapping his hand against his forehead, thinking, I'm not that narcissistic. Seeing him shake his head in earnest protest, head priest said, you're really a good-for-nothing. You are the only deity in the heavens to ascend 3 times. Flower Crown Martial God, the Crown Prince of Xianli, who at the age of 17 had the nerve to declare to the whole world that you'll save the common people. At the age of 18, Xie Lian immediately says, head priest, stop. Head priest, don't say that anymore. Stop. There's nothing about this gloomy history to be proud of. Head priest looked at him with a complicated expression, seemingly upset that the iron hasn't been forged into steel. 11, he said. Your Highness, you really don't have to put yourself down that much. Xie Lian responded, I'm not putting myself down, it's just that, when it comes to the person you admire, you'd naturally want to give them what's best in the world. But you can't help but sometimes think that you're still not good enough. Seeing him in such a predicament, head priest sighed. He put his hands in his sleeves, thinking for a bit. Making the longevity lock, right? Wait, I'll think about it. It's been so long, I don't dare say I remember all the crafting and ceremonial procedures. Xie Lian said, it's not important. If you don't remember, I'll make it following what I remember. With enough faith, it will work out. Suddenly, head priest looked at him. Why don't you ask him? He didn't say the name, but Xie Lian knows who he is. Zhan Wu is being suppressed by Mount Tonglu, deep underground. After being silent for a while, Xie Lian still shook his head. After staying in Mount Tonglu for much of the day, Xie Lian returned to Ghost City. At this time, there was only a few Shichin before Hua Cheng's birthday would come. The ghosts and Xie Lian agreed beforehand that they would pretend nothing is happening, and secretly decorate the city. Xie Lian walks into a small shop. Not long after, a group of ghosts also came, anxiously and chaotically asking, How is it? How is it? Xie Lian thought that they're almost acting like thieves. How is your Cheng Zhu? Has he found anything unusual yet? The ghost replied, No. Cheng Zhu has been inside Qiandeng Temple all day. Xie Lian found that a bit odd. For the whole day? Yeah. Cheng Zhu's mood seems pretty good today. Grand. Xie Daozhong, did you prepare a birthday gift for Cheng Zhu yet? Xie Lian felt at ease now, taking out from his sleeves the longevity lock he spent so much effort into making, smiling. It's ready. The ghosts celebrated. They talked about how to prepare for the birthday celebration tomorrow before Xie Lian returned to Qiandeng Temple. Inside, Hua Cheng was in fact practicing his handwriting. To think that without Xie Lian's urging, Hua Cheng would practice calligraphy on his own, this was extremely rare. It seems like he really is in a good mood. Looking at that poor Bahuang brush in his hands being used to write such distorted, ugly characters, Xie Lian found this almost funny, shaking his head. Hearing that Xie Lian has returned, Hua Cheng put down the brush, releasing it from its agony. He gently smiled. Gerger has come back? Perfect timing, come look at what I did today. Xie Lian smiled. Okay. He walked forward. Just then, his face froze. He paused his steps, frowning. Hua Cheng immediately sensed that something was wrong. In the next instant, he was beside Xie Lian. What's wrong? Xie Lian's expression shortly returned to normal. It's nothing. It wasn't nothing. Just now, he felt a slight pain in his heart. Hua Cheng never lets him be careless, and walked up to him to hold his wrist. Where did you go? Did you get hurt again? Xie Lian replied. No. This is the truth, he didn't get hurt. The past few days he spent running around went smoothly, and he didn't encounter anything dangerous. Hua Cheng pondered for a bit, and let go when he didn't find anything abnormal. 12 Xie Lian also checked himself, but couldn't find anything either, thinking that the pain might have been an illusion. He smiled. Perhaps it was a sprained muscle. 13 Let me see what you did today. Hua Cheng then smiled, taking his hand. Come here. Before Xie Lian could reply, his heart suddenly hurt again. This time, it was definitely not an illusion. He clearly felt that, if the first time was like a pinprick, the second time was a pain like a sharp nail scratching through. If Hua Cheng hadn't coincidentally looked away, Xie Lian might not have been able to say, "It's nothing, this time." Xie Lian didn't want to startle Hua Cheng for now. After the two played around in Qiandang Temple for a while, he found an excuse to leave and examine himself more carefully. He put down his hand afterwards, looking serious. There was in fact nothing wrong with him, otherwise Hua Cheng would have found out when he held his wrist. So then why would his heart hurt out of nowhere? After pondering, Xie Lian guessed that it might have been a curse or some kind of poison, but he didn't fret, at least, not for now. Hua Cheng's birthday will be here in just a bit. If something happens now, Hua Cheng wouldn't be in the mood to celebrate it, and instead be curing his injury. Xie Lian is used to holding in pain, so it's not like he hasn't experienced these kinds of weird things. He decided not to think about it now, and wait until after this day was over before quietly fixing this on his own. At night, as it's almost time, Xie Lian returned to Qiandang Temple. Hua Cheng was still inside, being bored to death, pretending to be seriously practicing his calligraphy as he haphazardly scribbles on the paper, creating garbage. Xie Lian couldn't help but laugh, but before he could even laugh he felt the heartache again. Using his finger to massage his chest doesn't do anything either. He thought, looks like this thing is pretty powerful. I'll bear it longer. He inhales, walking out as he gently says, San Lang, there's something I need your help with. Hua Cheng puts down the brush. What is it? Xie Lian said. Please close your eyes. Hua Cheng raised his eyebrow, but didn't ask any further. He closed his eye. Xie Lian takes both of his hands, smiling. Follow me. This is like the reverse of what happened at Mount Yuzhan. Hua Cheng smiled. Okay. Xie Lian guided for both of his hands as they slowly walked to the door. Be careful of the door frame. Who knows how long Hua Cheng has walked around Qiandang Temple already. He naturally doesn't need to be guided around the building. But he still waited for Xie Lian to remind him before lifting his foot. The silver chains on his boots chimed as the two exit through the large door, arriving at the main street. After walking for a while, Xie Lian said, Okay, open your eyes. Hua Cheng did as he was told. At that instant, that pitch-black iris was like a candle being lit up, glowing in an instant. The street was covered with lanterns, looking much cleaner than it did in the past. It was as if every household worked hard to clean up, replacing everything broken with new installations. The roofs were also glowing as if they were new. The ghosts surrounded them quietly, not daring to make a sound before. Once Hua Cheng opened his eye, they frantically made noise, messily yelling, Happy birthday Cheng Zhu, plus some other phrases mixed in like, May you live a long and happy life together, and may you soon give birth to children. It was extremely obnoxious. Seeing such a disastrous outcome, Xie Lian slapped his forehead. They had practiced for so long and managed to be synchronized before. How come now it sounds like a mess? Hua Cheng was expressionless, looking almost completely unmoved. He raised an eyebrow. What are you all doing? You're annoying people to death. The ghosts have already given up everything they've practiced, saying, If it's annoying to death, then to death it is. There's nobody here anyways. Hua Cheng sneered. Turning around, he saw Xie Lian behind him, his hands hiding behind his back. San Lang, I heard. Today is your birthday. Hua Cheng looked as if he was waiting for this, crossing his arms and tilting his head. Looking at Xie Lian, he smiled. Yup. Xie Lian gently coughed a couple times, then suddenly jumped up, putting the longevity lock pendant on Hua Cheng's neck. I made this in a rush, but I hope you don't mind it. That longevity lock is engraved with the same kinds of patterns on his wrist braces: maple leaves, butterflies, ferocious beasts, etc. It was extremely refined, and contains very strong spiritual power. One could tell from a glance that it was an extraordinary item. The ghosts excitedly exclaimed, "Wow, it looks way too good. What kind of treasure is this?" "Ah, only Cheng Zhu is fit for this kind of treasure. And only this kind of treasure is fit for Cheng Zhu." Their cheers were exaggerated to the extreme. Xie Lian doesn't know if he wanted to laugh or cry. He was getting more and more nervous, but doesn't know if he should ask Hua Cheng what he thinks of the gift. Hua Cheng didn't say anything either, but his eyes were very bright, and he looked like he wanted to smile. He picks up the lock, as if wanting to speak. Who knew at this instant, something happened. Xie Lian's knees suddenly went weak, and he starts to fall. This was very sudden. The ghosts who were cheering just now suddenly made noises of horror. Hua Cheng's smile instantly faded, quickly catching him mid-fall. He said, "Gurgur, what is it?" Xie Lian's face paled. He shook his head, forcing a smile. "It's Noth." Without finishing his words, his throat shuts. "Damn, it's back again. That heartache is coming out of nowhere again." And this time, the pain was worse than ever before. It was as if his heart was being blown apart. Xie Lian's luck is bad, but he never expected that this pain would come so suddenly, with each appearance more painful than the one before, and happening right now at such a bad time. He was still calm, but that pain kept going. It felt as if someone grabbed a walnut dowel and hammered it again and again into his heart. Xie Lian was in so much pain he could hardly breathe. He couldn't put his head up, and his forehead broke into cold sweat. Hua Cheng's expression thoroughly changed. "Your Highness." He grabbed Xie Lian's wrist, but couldn't find anything wrong. "Your Highness, where did you go yesterday?" There was terrified howling everywhere. Xie Lian opened his mouth, and, as if something was nailed to his throat, he couldn't even speak. The arm Hua Cheng was holding him with trembled. Seeing Hua Cheng's face that was calm no matter what turned into one that looked so impatient and terrified, Xie Lian's heart felt as if it was being crushed by a large hammer. Finally unable to bear it, he falls unconscious. Before he lost consciousness, his mind was filled with the words, "I'm sorry. After all, today is Hua Cheng's birthday." After an unknown amount of time, Xie Lian abruptly woke up. Catching his breath, he stared at the ceiling and thought, thinking hazily, "This is Qiandang Temple? How did I fall asleep?" He was slowly waking up when suddenly an arm was propping him up. Hua Cheng's voice was nearby. "Your Highness." Xie Lian raised his head and saw his face. His expression was cauterizing. Xie Lian was startled. Just as he was about to speak, he felt an intense pain in his heart again. This woke him up entirely. His whole body curled, and his fingers were about to claw into his chest with immense strength as if to dig his own heart out. Hua Cheng immediately held down his wrists, saying, "Your Highness." If Hua Cheng hadn't acted quickly, Xie Lian might have really dug 5 bloody holes into his chest. Just then, a voice from nearby said, "I think there's something wrong here. Why don't you let go of him first?" "Muching is here," Hua Cheng said. "What will we do if I let go and he hurts himself?" Feng Xin's voice immediately came up. "I'll hold on to him for you. If we don't hurry up and find out what's wrong, his pain won't stop." Xie Lian's body bent, and he felt another hand holding onto his wrists. After hearing this, Hua Cheng's movement stagnated, and he let go. Strangely enough, once he let go of Xie Lian, the pain went away quite a lot. Xie Lian could move now, and as he flipped himself over, he saw Feng Xin and Mu Qing near the divan. They were probably called over to help. Hua Cheng was standing nearby, staring at him. Looking at him, Xie Lian's pain came back again. Mu Qing, seeing his change in facial expression, says to Hua Cheng, "Stand further away. It looks like he feels pain if he's near you or looking at you." Hearing this, Hua Cheng froze, his face looking very terrifying. Not knowing what to say, he quickly walked away, leaving the building. Once he disappeared from Xie Lian's sight, the pain in his heart also quickly subdued. With the pain coming and going, Xie Lian was about to be driven mad. Catching his breath, he spoke with difficulty. What is going on?" Mu Qing and Feng Xin were holding him down together, stopping him from seeing Hua Cheng. Mu Qing said, "That's our question to you. What's up with you? You must have caught something." Xie Lian replied, "If I had caught something, how would I not know? Besides, Hua Cheng had checked him as well." Mu Qing responded, "Then have you gone somewhere strange these past few days?" Xie Lian explained, "Recently, I've only gone to Mount Tonglu and Head Priest Grave." Mu Qing knit his brows. "What? Head Priest Grave? What Head Priest Grave?" Hua Cheng was standing outside, yet he understood. "Head Priest Feng Xin Grave." Xie Lian, "San Lang, you should come in." Hua Cheng's solemn voice came in. "Gerger should heal. I'll go take a look." Xie Lian immediately said, "I'll go too." But as he got up, he felt so much pain he had to lie down again. He didn't hear Hua Cheng say anything more after, so he must have already left. Xie Lian wanted to force himself up again. Mu Qing exclaimed, "I think you should stop scampering around. Don't even walk anymore." Xie Lian was being held down by 4 hands, struggling. "It's not like I've never felt pain before. I'll get used to it after a while." Just because he's in pain, doesn't mean he'll let that stop him from seeing Hua Cheng. However, Mu Qing said, "You're willing to bear the pain, but your San Lang isn't willing." Xie Lian was startled. He thought about what Hua Cheng's face looked like the moment before he fainted, then thought about what Hua Cheng's face looked like when he realized that he'd be in pain whenever he went near him. His breathing stagnated and his heart burst in pain, his face instantly turning pale. Feng Xin and Mu Qing both looked at him. Stunned, Feng Xin said, "Didn't Crimson Rain Softflower 14 leave already? Why is he still in pain?" Mu Qing was very sharp-minded. "Did you think of him just now?" Xie Lian gritted his teeth, bearing the pain for a while before forcefully replying, "What? Is it that I can't even think about him?" Mu Qing said, "Don't think. The more you think, the more you suffer. I'll get you water to drink." Xie Lian didn't even have the strength to shake his head. Mu Qing got up to pour him water, and he closed his eyes, barely calming his heart. But the calmer his heart, the more he worried. He doesn't know what kind of curse thing latched onto him that neither him nor Hua Cheng could find out what it was. To think that Hua Cheng is going alone to find out, Xie Lian couldn't rest assured. At this time, Mu Qing hands him a teacup. That Snow White teacup is refined. Hua Cheng was just using it last night. Thinking of this, Xie Lian's face was once again drained of color, and he lay down without a word. With one glance, Mu Qing could tell who his mind flew to again. With the teacup still in his hand undelivered, Mu Qing's face darkened. "Why does everything remind you of him? Do you want to die?" Xie Lian responded, "How could I control that? If not thinking of a person was something as easy to do as it was to say, people in this world would be much less frustrated." Mu Qing said, "I say we just knock him out. Saves him the effort of controlling his thoughts." However, being Xie Lian's ex-subordinate, Feng Xin absolutely will not hit Xie Lian. Of course, he won't let anyone else hit Xie Lian around him. He immediately said, "No, I say you talk to him more, distract him, so he'd stop thinking about Crimson Rain Sought Flower. Ch questioned. What can I talk to him about? As if he wouldn't start thinking about Crimson Rain Sought Flower regardless of what I say? Knocking him out is better. Xin exclaimed. You cannot hit him. He can't think of anything else if we're all playing Cheng Yuji along. 15, right? I bet he can't. I'll start. Lifespan as long as the Southern Mountain. 16. Ch absolutely hated this game, but he still miserably played the next turn. Mountains barren, waters vicious. 17. There wasn't anything Xie Lian could do. Weakly, he played next. Vicious purple replaces the righteous red. 18. Just as he finished his turn, he curled up again. Ch was baffled. How can this make you think of him? It's not even partially related. Xie Lian thought, how could it not be related? Red color, crimson clothing. If he thinks of crimson clothing, how could he not think of Hua Cheng? Being so tormented, he couldn't stand it anymore. With a burst of power, he struggled free from the two holding him down, and rolled down from the divan with a bam. Xin and Ch knew he had extraordinary explosive strength, so they had conserved their own powers. But even that wasn't enough to hold him down. Seeing him escape, the two rushed to subdue him, but Xie Lian gave them a slap that sent them back onto the ground, unable to get up. Ch raised his head, seeing Xie Lian escaping through the door. Where are you going? Don't run around. But Xie Lian was already running as fast as he could. He takes out two exquisite dice from his sleeves, throws them, and clumsily rushes himself through a door. Hua Cheng had once said, if Xie Lian wanted to see him, he'd be able to no matter what numbers he get from the dice. Rushing through the door, Xie Lian didn't even know where the dice would take him, but once he fell through the door, he fell into an embrace. Hua Cheng's voice came from above his head, slightly shocked. Your Highness. Xie Lian quickly holds him, as if afraid he'd disappear. San Lang, don't go alone. With you. Hua Cheng seemed to want to immediately hug him, but his arms froze midway. Barely restrained himself, he said. Your Highness, go back. Your pain will get worse. But Xie Lian gritted his teeth, hugging him harder, his voice shaking. If it hurts, then so be it. Hua Cheng exclaimed. Your Highness. If he was going to sit somewhere else, dying of pain from thinking about Hua Cheng, then why not die of pain while embracing Hua Cheng tightly? The more he hurt, the tighter his arms were around him. Xie Lian's head beaded with sweat, his words disjointed. Just wait for me. Just for a bit. I will get better. I will get used to it. I'm really good at bearing pain. If you're beside me, I can bear the pain. If you left, then I really can't bear it. Hearing this, Hua Cheng was startled for a long time. He quietly spoke. Your Highness. His voice was a mixture of sighing and being in pain, and he seemed even more tormented than Xie Lian. Xie Lian held onto him, waiting for that unbearable torment to pass. Just as he was calming his breath, a voice came from behind. This is forged using your mask as a casting. Amidst his dizziness, Xie Lian just realized where they were. It was a desolate, sinister grave, the head priest grave he had visited 2 days ago. The person standing behind them, tall in stature, was Lang Qianshu. When Xie Lian first arrived, he was already delirious, so he didn't notice that there was a third person here. Noticing now, he couldn't be bothered to feel embarrassed, either. At this time, Xin and Ch also caught up. Ch was just slapped by him so hard that he couldn't get up from the floor, and was so angry that the green veins on his forehead might just never disappear. He shouted, "What are you running for? 2 people, 4 hands couldn't stop you. What in purgatory is this place? It's like a grave." Xin was also looking around. This is a grave, right? One that someone has dug through before. So this is head priest Xin's grave. He saw Lang Qianshu. Stunned, Xin asked, "Why is your Highness Taiwa here as well?" Lang Qianchu doesn't look too good, replied. I sensed something strange happening in head priest grave, so I came to take a look. He came to take a look, and coincidentally bumped into Hua Cheng and Xie Lian. He pondered about something, not bothering to say his greetings or explain any further. Staring at Xie Lian, he asked again, did you use that silver mask to forge the longevity lock? Did you come by 2 days ago, and took the mask away? Hesitating, Xie Lian nodded. When he was in Yang Kingdom appointed as head priest a long time ago, he always wore a silver mask. The silver on his mask was very rare, crafted from half a Jin 19 of a silver demon. Not only did it cover his face, its real power was that it could reflect spells and protect him. After head priest Fang Xin died, the mask was buried with him, placed into the same coffin. To give someone a gift, the gift must be something that was incredibly precious to oneself. Xie Lian thought very hard, and finally remembered that he once had a treasure like this. It was extremely useful, helping him several times. He loved that mask but didn't take it with him when he crawled out of the coffin, so he hurried over to head priest grave in the middle of the night, dug out his own grave, and got the mask back. He melted the mask into silver metal again, and reforged it into a longevity lock of self-protection. Everyone had weird expressions. After all, no one ever visited head priest grave. The weeds have grown to several feet tall. Even though he came back, Xie Lian didn't even sweep the grave, instead excavating his own tomb. There's no one else who could do such a thing. After a moment of staying quiet in embarrassment, Xie Lian saw Lang Qianchu's peculiar expression, explaining, I didn't take that mask from your family. I used a silver demon I'd subdued myself to forge it. If it's something that had belonged to the Yang and imperial family, he really wouldn't melt it and turn it into Hua Cheng's birthday gift. He didn't know that Lang Qianchu was still looking over head priest grave. He thought that after burying him, Lang Qianchu would have left and never cared about the grave again. If he'd known, he'd at least put the dirt he'd dug up back into the grave so that Lang Qianchu wouldn't be startled enough to come check up on what happened. Lang Qianchu stared blankly, then angrily said, I'm not fussing with you over that. Hua Cheng shot him a look, his eyes slightly cold. Lang Qianchu's face flashed a scared expression. When Xie Lian looked at that silver lock, he suddenly frowned as if he thought of something. Looking at Lang Qianchu, he realized that he had a similar expression. Hua Cheng naturally noticed. The problem is on this lock, right? Your Highness, do you know what it is? Xie Lian did have a clue. He could guess what was going on, but didn't know how to say it. However, Lang Qianchu spoke up on his behalf, his face turning blue. He said, it's himself. Hua Cheng coldly asked, what do you mean? Xie Lian frantically interjected, Qianchu. Lang Qianchu looks at him, but continued, after the Gilded Banquet massacre, I brought him here. Xie Lian said, stop talking. Lang Qianchu looked at him, and stopped talking, probably because he also didn't know how to explain what happened next. But even if he didn't speak, the other people present could continue the explanation. After the Gilded Banquet massacre, the Crown Prince of Yang and Lang Qianchu seized head priest Fang Xin. 20 as revenge, he nailed him to his coffin alive. The coffin was situated in the deserted countryside, and everyone was forbidden from visiting his grave to pay respects. Of course, there weren't that many people who would come to visit in the first place. At that time, as the walnut dowel pierced through Xie Lian's heart, the blood from it stained the silver mask red. The sinister energy from the silver demon saved that blood. Even if it left his body, it never died. And when Xie Lian came back to dig up his own tomb and took that mask out to make the longevity lock, he woke up that blood, and it returned to his body. No wonder when Hua Cheng and himself checked his vitals, they couldn't sense anything out of the ordinary. The source of the problems came from his body, his own blood. Of course they couldn't detect it as being strange. Hua Cheng made a move. Xie Lian couldn't see his expression clearly, frantically holding him back. San Lang Qianchu killed him for revenge. The young and emperor did indeed die in Xie Lian's hands, and in return, he was nailed to his coffin. Xie Lian's breath shortened. With his heart once again in pain, he let out a groan he couldn't suppress. Hua Cheng's expression became fiery again. Your Highness. Lang Qianchu hesitated, seeing that Xie Lian's face was as white as paper. He asked, "Do you need my help?" Xie Lian knew that he would ask, quickly replying, It's nothing. I don't need your help, Qianchu. This isn't your business, and it's not your problem. I was just careless. You don't have to involve yourself. Mu Qing also thought that Lang Qianchu, being both the victim and the culprit in this scenario, was in a rather awkward spot. He agreed. Indeed, Your Highness Tai, while you don't have to be responsible for him. Go home. A moment of quiet passed before Lang Qianchu replied, Okay. Even though he said, okay, he still hasn't left. No one else could care about that though, because Xie Lian was in pain to the verge of rolling on the floor. Yet, even in his state of pain, he was embracing watching with a death grip, unwilling to let go. Feng Xin said, Let's deal with this problem first. Your Highness, how are you doing? Xie Lian was just furiously struggling. After a caw sound rung from elsewhere, he quieted down. His face was covered in cold sweat as he lay on Hua Cheng, not moving. Hua Cheng held him with strength, his voice quiet. Okay, Your Highness. The pain stopped, didn't it? It was then that everyone realized that in his hand was a crystalline silver powder. The longevity lock he so treasured and worn near his heart had disappeared. If the longevity lock was destroyed, then Xie Lian's blood that had been stained with sinister energy would also calm down. So Hua Cheng held that longevity lock and gently crushed it into pieces. Xie Lian's breathing returned to normal. Tilting his head, he could see the glistening silver seeping through Hua Cheng's fingers. He looked at Hua Cheng, and for some reasons, his heart hurt a little again. He murmured, It doesn't hurt anymore. After finally breaking the curse, Xie Lian bid farewell to Feng Xin, Mu Qing, Lang Qianchu and the others. With Hua Cheng, they walked slowly in the direction of Ghost City. As the two walked shoulder to shoulder, Xie Lian's face felt hot during the entire trip back. This was Feng Xin and Mu Qing's fault. Right before the two groups parted ways, Feng Xin wiped his sweat and couldn't help but ask, So why exactly does Your Highness become like this whenever he looks at Crimson Rain Flower? What's up with that sinister blood? Does it want him to suffer? Xie Lian himself knows exactly why. Hearing him ask this question, he interjected, Don't think too deeply about this. Feng Xin suspiciously asked, Why not think deeper? What if this happens again? We should at least understand why. Mu Qing snorted. Can't you see? That blood left his body for too many years. After returning to the body, it needed to readjust, so it did all kinds of strange things. If his heart was calm and composed, then he'd be fine. However, if his heart was restless and his heartbeat increased, that blood will get excited and bring him immense pain. It will make him relive the pain of having a walnut dowel driven throughout his heart. Xie Lian couldn't tell what expression Hua Cheng had at the time, but he could only think that he'd be losing face in front of Hua Cheng for the rest of his life. What Mu Qing said, doesn't it just mean that whenever he looks at or thinks about Hua Cheng, his heart would race with infatuation? So that's why he'd be in so much pain. Thinking of this, Xie Lian's heart raced furiously again. Luckily, no matter how fast his heart beat now, he won't be in pain. Hua Cheng, who'd been quiet for a long time, suddenly said, Your Highness. Xie Lian immediately responded, What is it? Hua Cheng asked, How long were you in the tomb? Xie Lian was startled. He replied, I don't remember clearly anymore. At any rate, it was for a very, very long time. So long that he didn't even want to count. Pain, starvation, blood loss, hallucinations. At first he wouldn't move, but then he'd regret it, and furiously hit the outer coffin to break it and escape. But he'd eventually let himself sink back into the infinite darkness. It wasn't as intense as the inescapable, damning pain of being pierced 100 times. But it was a constant pain that seemed to last forever. He sighed. Hua Cheng immediately asked, "What is it, Your Highness? Are you still in pain?" Xie Lian shook his head. After a while, he sorrowfully said, "San Lang, I'm sorry." Hua Cheng strangely questioned, "Why are you apologizing to me?" Pausing in his footsteps, Xie Lian said, "Today was your birthday. I wanted you to celebrate it well, but instead made you waste a day trying to break the curse." He originally hoped to bear it until the birthday was over, but in the end he couldn't. Xie Lian said, "Even the gift I prepared for you had to be destroyed to break my curse. In fact, it had to be shattered by Hua Cheng's own hands." Thinking about this from the start, Xie Lian thought that today was absolutely no good. He felt extremely dejected. Yet, Hua Cheng said softly, "Your Highness." He stopped his footsteps. "I've already gotten your gift to me." Xie Lian, shocked, asked, "What did I give you? Please don't say something like, 'You're the best gift.' That'd be even more embarrassing." Hua Cheng stared at him, speaking in a low voice. "Your Highness said that, even if it brings him pain, he still wants to see me. Even if it hurts him that much, he doesn't want to leave." Hua Cheng said, "I'm delighted." Thinking back to how pitiable he looked like when he was grabbing onto Hua Cheng and declaring those words, Xie Lian coughed, pretending to naturally cover his own face. Yet Hua Cheng suddenly pulled him, embracing him tightly. Startled, Xie Lian pressed against his chest, hearing it vibrate as he spoke in a low voice. Hua Cheng said, "Really, I'm very happy." "I'm also very happy," Xie Lian thought. In the hundreds of years that have passed, even if it hurt, Hua Cheng never once thought of giving up on him. Xie Lian, who had realized this, should be the one who felt happiest. Hua Cheng said, "But even if I'm happy, I don't want to see you bear that kind of pain ever again." The two returned to Ghost City. The ghosts were anxious for the entire day. Seeing the two peacefully returning, they immediately went from being in turmoil to celebrating feverishly. Hua Cheng remained the same, not bothering to care, and went inside Qiandeng Temple with Xie Lian. But when they went inside, they found that there were a lot more things inside. Hua Cheng asked, "Who put these in here?" Xie Lian took a look, checking the things. He said, They look like presents. This one is from Yushi Darren 21, right? Such fresh produce." "This is from Qingshan. This must be from General Pei." He listed for a while, smiling. "San Lang, these are birthday gifts for Ghost King Gexia 22. Even though he didn't mention whose birthday it would be when he spent the past few days asking around for advice on what birthday gift to get, everyone could pretty much guess exactly who it was. On the other hand, Hua Cheng had absolutely no interest. "Don't look, Gerger. Throw it all out later. They take up space." Looks like he really intended to get someone to throw them away. Xie Lian quickly responded, "Why don't we keep them? They are sending their kind regards after all." "Wait, why are these here? Who gifted them?" Xie Lian could see the seductive potion and childbearing pill among the pile of gifts. He didn't know if he should laugh or cry, throwing them to the side as if they were hand-scorching yams. Hua Cheng seemed to be interested in these things, picking them up for a look. "What are these?" Xie Lian rapidly blocked his path. "Nothing good at all. Don't look." In the end, after conflicting for a while, Xie Lian gave Hua Cheng the belt he had handmade to replace the longevity lock. When Hua Cheng saw it, he laughed to the point of almost not being able to breathe, even though ghosts never need to breathe in the first place. At any rate, he held him and kissed him for a while, praising him non-stop, praising Xie Lian until he was embarrassed beyond belief, lying on the bed pretending to die. What made Xie Lian want to pretend to die even more was that, the next day, Hua Cheng really wore it, getting ready to leave as if nothing was wrong. When Xie Lian saw that, he almost fainted, immediately getting off the divan and clinging to him. He begged him for half a day before Hua Cheng extremely forcefully promised to flip the belt over so that the side with the embroidery would be hidden from the public. And so Xie Lian barely escaped the fate of having his handicraft be publicly humiliated. But because Hua Cheng made what happened that day a big deal, the heavens in purgatory all knew that Xie Lian fainted from pain on his birthday. Once they found out the reason behind it all, the heavens in purgatory now all know that Xie Lian has deeply fallen head over heels for Crimson Rain Flower. At least, this was the final word to that story. Translator's notes. Divan, ancient Chinese low-rising bed chair couch hybrid without a back or arms. Tu Shichen, approximately 4 hours. Chinese idiom. The raw material has already become a finished product. Semicolon. Pinyin, Fuqi. I'll admit that you were right, and I'll give you leeway, respect you. He wanted to refer to himself with an esteemed I pronoun that's different from the normal corrected himself. Xingtian Hu, translated as Star Sky Hu. The Hu is vessel for holding alcohol or other beverages. Bahuang, a fancy name meaning 8 directions. Yuzu, lit. Translation is jade bamboo. Scientific name is Polygonidum odoratum. Chinese idiom. Doing whatever one can do fix an issue. 10. Waishi, translated as me, your teacher. The me pronoun for esteemed teachers. 11. Head priest was upset that Xie Lian hasn't learned his lesson. 12. I believe he checked his pulse the same way ancient Chinese doctors would check them to look at one's vitals. In dramas they can even check pulses to detect pregnancy. 13. Sprained muscles sound like a big deal, but I couldn't word it concisely otherwise. Xie Lian really meant, perhaps a tendon or muscle somewhere did a wonky thing for a little bit. 14. Crimson Rain Flower, Shui Yu Tanhua. 15. Cheng Yu Jia Long. Pinyin, Sheung Yu Jia Long, a game where one person says the first half of a Chinese idiom and the other person completes the second half. Each Cheng Yu usually comes in 4 words. 16. Shoubi Nanshan, lifespan as long as the southern mountain. 17. Shanchong Shui, mountains barren, waters vicious means to describe an inhospitable environment. 18. Easy Duoju, vicious purple replaces the righteous red, describes something evil that has replaced something good, or is presented as something good. Confucius hated the color purple and loved red, associating colors with bad and good character. 19. Jin, pinyin, jin, unit of measurement for weight. 1 jin 0. 5 kilograms 1. 1023 lb. 20. After the banquet, Lang Qianchu seized Xie Lian, who was the head priest Feng Xin, and nailed him to his coffin alive. 21. Darren, pinyin, Daren, esteemed title for any official. Lit. Translation is big person. In this case, it's referring to Lord Rainmaster. 22. Gexia, pinyin, Zhe Sha, esteemed title for someone who's a ruler. Google translates as Your Mightiness, and Dianxia translates as Your Highness.